Hello and welcome, Jake here for redlinemotorsport.co.uk, and today I'll be bringing you some Assetto Corsa Competizione. For a change today, I will be covering Tier 4 today. Apologies for the break there, I could hear my own stream in the background, which was really off-putting, but we'll crack on and gloss over that. So yeah, today for a change I'll be bringing you Tier 4. So today this is the round 6 and the beautiful track of Zandvoort. Should turn out to be quite a thrilling race today. Not one of the easiest tracks to pass on, but beautiful and a very fun track to drive. As you can just see on screen at the minute, we're just having a quick glance through the current leaderboards as we are now about to start a 15-minute qualifying session. And without further ado, we shall crack on. As I haven't covered Tier 4 before, it should be interesting to see what the guys have been up to. We'll take a little bit of a look through the standings as the race goes on, so we can sort of see what some of the guys have been up to and what sort of performances they've been showing throughout the season so far. Plus a whole new bunch of guys to me, so I do apologise in advance if I go ahead and murder some of the pronunciations of your names. I do apologise in advance for that. I will try my best to get it right. So far, 21 drivers on track, so got a decent amount in. Hopefully we'll get a few more that will jump in before qualifying is over. But plenty enough to see some great racing throughout the field, which I'm really hoping for. Just seeing one of the guys backing off there if he's trying to get a bit of space to set his lap, though. Don't think that worked out too well for him. He's actually let someone pass. Unless he's trying to look for a little bit of slipstream around here the circuit today. As you can see, nice sunny dry conditions for the drivers today, which I'm sure will be a pleasant change from what we had last week at Misano, which was rather wet and tricky conditions. So a lot of incidents, not necessarily incidents, but more sort of mistakes and struggling with a tricky wet condition, especially around the back portion of the circuit on the fast right-handers. It's very tricky to take those turns at the sort of speeds they were and braking down into the last few turns of the course after the first those fast right-handers. Proving quite tricky, especially for the Porsches, I must admit, being a rear engine, all that weight hanging over the rear axle, definitely struggling more than some of the other cars in those conditions, especially on that section of the circuit. Though, I must admit, the Porsches do have the advantage of having the weight over the rear axle, so out of some of the slow corners, that really does seem to help them with the traction. So, yeah, a little bit of here and there for different cars in those conditions, but they'll all be very happy to see a nice sunny dry circuit today at Zandvoort, especially you don't have the luxury of any runoff zones here at Zandvoort compared to a large Grand Prix circuit of Misano. You make a mistake here and you're going to find, as you can see there, a very small patch of grass and straight into one of the Mesalamco barriers, which will not be very forgiving. Jump on board with Jack Dyer here. Interesting to see that he's actually in the old spec Aston, which is quite nice to see one of them out there, because I don't believe there's any others. Most of the people running Astons are running the newer 19 spec car. just being silent there for you, because that is the one thing about the older spec Aston, is the beautiful V12, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely one of the best sounding cars out there. Now obviously he's finding that the way that the older Aston behaves sort of suits his driving style more, and he's been doing fairly well with it so far, as Jack. We've got a few of the newer Astons out there as well. Here's one, is Eric, currently P8 at the minute. Definitely love the visual improvements on this 2019 version. Doesn't sound quite as good as the old Aston, but from what I've heard from the drivers, that this one really does feel good and holds the track very well. So currently we have Damien in P1 with a 136.4, and it'd be Frank in P2 with a 136.8, and Lindell in P3 with a 136.8 also. And at top sort of 8-9 positions at the minute, only covered by a second, so looks like we could have a nice tight field through the top positions, and hopefully throughout the grid, which will really give us some good racing throughout today. Now Zandvoort is of course one of the sprint rounds of the season, so it'll be only a 60-minute long race, sprint race for the guys, no pit stops required. Of course that is as long as they keep it on the black stuff. So Andrea Santoro currently now taking the top spot, an improvement over Damien by 3/10 with a 136.3. So handy lead so far up at the top of the field for Andrea. We'll jump on board with Andrea. And he's in one of the Porsche 911s. Putting that rear wheel drive to good use. Well, they're all rear wheel drive, rear engine, should I say, mounted. He has, as I just said, that having quickly demoted 2 positions, as Damien did improve his lap by about a 4/10 on the last time round, now putting him 1/10 ahead of Andrea with a 136.2. But Sebastian has gone and topped the pair of them by going 2/10 faster. Another one of the Porsche drivers, he is now on a 136.0. So a great lap by Sebastian early on. Took about half of their qualifying left, only a short 15-minute qualifying session, so these laps really count, and getting an early banker lap down is really key to give yourself a bit of freedom to really push for the remainder of qualifying. It's no good pushing from the outset and just constantly making mistakes and not getting a time down the board. It's very crucial with a short qualifying to really get those banker laps in, as we're seeing these guys doing now. Frank Elsa one is improved up to P4, so 136.4. Just a few tenths off the top there, so definitely room for Frank to get himself further up the order. With Stefan Miller in P5, 136.5. So times are looking really close for these guys. Again, top 9 covered by a second, and look, another 9 behind that covered by another second. So And it's good to see the Tier 4 guys are really close on pace, so it should give us a really entertaining race for today. Jump on board a P2 man here, Damien, in the Lexus. Did a little bit of driving in this car myself, and I agree that I really enjoyed the way that the Lexus handled. And the way this nice sort of beefy, almost body kit style look that the Lexus has, almost sort of touring car-esque, I would say. And lovely roar of the Lexus. Looks a little bit of an orthodox line there, not quite on the racing line, I would say, personally, into the tight sort of S section there if we come around the last couple of corners. So definitely some time to be had there, I would say, from Damien. As Jose, I believe it is, has jumped up into P3 with a 136.2, splitting Damien and Andrea, just nabbing in there between the two of those. It's a great lap by Lopez, hopefully more time for him to improve and push himself up. Only a 10th off P2, so just definitely one corner you can make that improvement. So he'll be wanting to get back out there as soon as possible to try and find that extra last couple of tenths. On board here with Stefan Miller, currently P7 on a 136.5. Another one of the Porsche drivers out there. Got a few Porsches in this lobby as we see a Ferrari lose control there in the background coming out of the last turn, possibly clipping a little bit of grass on exit there. Yeah, it's good to see a nice mixture of manufacturers in here today. I can't say that any one manufacturer is particularly more popular than the other. It's been nice to see that we've actually got Honda in here today. For Antonio Benedate in P19, our very own RLM webmaster, who does some wonderful and brilliant things with the RLM Redline Motorsport.co.uk website. Hats off to you, my pal. So currently no more changes up front for the top few spots, that Lindell has pushed his way up into P4. We go on board with him now, another one of the Lexus drivers. It's with a 136.3. So times across the sort of top, let's say 7 or 8 positions now, only half a second, so very tight for the top 8 positions. So like I said, just a few small improvements could really see you climb a few rows towards for the start of the race. You see a couple of improvements there as Stefan Miller, who we were currently watching, has jumped up into P3 on a 136.2, so really close to being able to put himself on the front row there. Lopez also pushed himself up to 4th, and that means Andrea, who was on the front row, is being pushed back to 5th place now, so needs to just find a couple more tenths. This Fabio Costa, and one of the Ferrari drivers, coming at 136.8, putting in P10, so midfield at the minute. Still enough time for a couple of, maybe one more flying lap. Hopefully he can find those extra few tenths and push his way up the order. Another one of Ferrari drivers here, Fernando Silva. Currently P12 in the Ferrari with a 137.1. Quite nice to see a white Ferrari for a change. Usually they're always red. I quite like the white and green there. Subtle, but it does stand out. It's quite a nice colour combination there. Still no improvements up the top of the board with just a minute to go. Still, we have Sebastian out on top with a 136.0. Hasn't improved on that so far, with Damien alongside him on the front row, a 136.2. Just 3 thousandths off that is Andrea Santoro, who has managed to improve his last lap around, putting him back up into P3, so great improvement by him. And that's pushed Stefan Miller down to P4. Oh, you just see Fernando losing it there. As Andrea comes around, he'll be on his final flying lap now. As you saw, his last lap out was his best. He'll be hoping to just improve that a little bit more and see if he can get himself up onto the front row of the grid for the start of the race today. Here's your current pole sitter, Sebastian. Just a few more corners to go now to see if he has managed to clinch himself pole position at Zandvoort. He's still on a fast lap, so he'll be looking to try and make an improvement, as Damien does make an improvement, gets himself up to P2, just half a tenth off this man Sebastian in pole with a 136.1, so a great lap there by Damien. Oh, a little bit wide there for Sebastian. He's pushing hard just to see if he can take a little bit extra off, and he does, but only by a few hundredths of a second, but an improvement nonetheless. As Andre did finish in third position, didn't have any more time to finish his lap. Jose finished on P5, not enough time to finish the lap he's on. Looks like the majority of guys now finished their lap, as we'll have a quick look at the... I would like a quick look at the leaderboard, but it's not allowing me, probably because that has classed qualifying as finished. But Sebastian does take P1 with a 136.0 and Damien alongside him with a 136.1. P3 goes to Andrea, P4 Stefan, and Jose P5. Now we will have about 5 minutes gap while it gives the guys time to go through final race preparations and make sure they've got the right setups ready for the race. I will give you a little treat here, as we have a new piece of media made by one of our very own RLM Ryan, as he will take you through a track guide of Zandvoort. Enjoy.
Welcome to the circuit Zandvoort, located just 20 miles west of Amsterdam on the Dutch coast. The 2.66 mile circuit, built in 1948 and last changed in 1999, has 14 corners and a lap record of 135.636 set by Mercedes in 2019. Overtaking is tricky here, but there is room down into turn 1, assuming you can hold the inside line, as we see the Lexus pass the Aston Martin on this occasion. Turn 3 won't be a popular overtaking spot with many, but it can be done, as the number 66 Audi shows us how. And turn 7. Mistakes and accidents are common here through this incredibly fast right-hander at the top of the circuit.
And there you have it, lovely little track guide there done by RLM Ryan. Thank you for that. Brilliant work and effort going in by all the RLM team to bring you all these lovely little treats along the way. So have another little look here at the championship standings. As you can see, Damien up front there with about 7-point lead. He's been doing pretty well so far, with a couple of wins to his name, around 2 and 4, and a second place at Monza, it looks like. Unfortunately, the Round 3 and 5 didn't look like they went off too well for him there, but with the good results in the other rounds, that does see him with the championship lead so far. But with a few rounds still to go in Season 2, there's definitely time for some of the other guys close behind him to make those points up, especially today. So it's Sebastian who's in pole, who is the closest, just 8 points behind. Had a fairly good season, just poor round last time out at Misano. Looks like a lot of people did struggle there in those nasty wet conditions that we had last time out. So it'll be an interesting start to the race today, because Zandvoort is known as definitely a sort of single line racetrack, so passing won't be one of the easiest things to do today. Definitely, there doesn't mean there isn't opportunities. Of course, definitely down into turn 1 there's an opportunity, and there are a few places around the track where you can take advantage of a slightly different line. Also, just sort of pressuring the drivers around you into little small mistakes will definitely allow you to position your car for a possible overtake. There's a few spots where, like Ryan would have pointed out there for us, I think it was turn 7, this sort of fast right-hander that really drops downhill initially. Very easy to lose the rear end of the car going in there, and it will be interesting to see if everyone makes it around there safely on the first lap, particularly with tyres and brakes that aren't quite up to temperature. Hopefully they all have a good start today. We don't see any incidents early on, so that we can have a nice long enjoyable race for everybody. Right, as you can see, just 25 seconds left now. Don't want quite such a large position board there, take up some of our screen. As we see the drivers now pull away from the grid, hopefully they will jump into single file and we will go helicat to watch this. There are leaders. You'll see there will be swerving a fair bit around this opening formation lap, just to keep the tyres up to temperature, and also be probably riding the brakes a little bit to keep some temperature in, especially for the run down to turn 1. Very likely we will see some passing going down into turn 1. We'll see them, I would guess, 2 abreast around turn 1 in places, and even down to the tight twisty corners here we have see it, especially on the opening lap. Give a quick check down the board, make sure everybody is still going. All the way down to the last guy in Q1 there, which is Reddick. Nice to actually see one of the McLarens out there towards the back there. There's a couple actually. We don't very often see the McLarens out there too much, so it's good to see a few of the guys have chosen to go with the McLaren. As the leaders come around to the last few turns, we should see them slow up slightly and allow everyone to go double file for the last turn or two. As we see there, yeah, the pace is just slowing slightly. Could do with a little bit more to let the guys towards the back really close up and get everyone double file. Check further back. Yeah, we've seen a few gaps in the field. Hopefully they can all quickly close up before they get to the line. As the race start has been initialized, we shall see them pull away.
Green light, go, go, go.
See great traction by the Porsches there from P1 and P3, leaving the Lexus and P2 standing in the dust there. Great start from our pole man and from the Porsche in P3 there. Yeah, it was Andreas Santoro got a good start around the outside in the in that black and orange Audi there. And this was the this is the famous turn 7 that can cause so many problems. It looks like these guys got through there nice and well the first time around. Looks like the majority of the field's still running fine, so it looks like a fairly nice and clean start for these guys. That's what we want to see as we'll jump back up to P2 here. Andrea in the Porsche holding on to P2. I did get the names wrong there, sorry, it took a little while for my screen to update. That's Jose in P3 in the Audi there. I'll get it right this time. So we see just one lap in, Sebastian really putting his foot down, getting a great first lap from his pole position start. As we saw there quite convincingly, the start from the Porsches compared to the other cars, that additional weight over the rear axle really allowing for them to launch themselves really well off the line, giving them a slight little bit of advantage as they went down into turn 1, which definitely paid off for them this time around. You see a nice long train of drivers here, I suspect, for some while. As I mentioned, not one of the easiest tracks to pass around, so I'll keep my eyes out and hopefully I can give some of that to you guys. Frank Nada here in the Lexus P10 currently, just holding off Fernando Silva in the white and green Ferrari there. Jump on board with Stefan Miller here. Did a good job of holding P6. I feel he possibly may have lost a couple of positions off the line. I thought he was a little further up, but I could be wrong there. And he has the Lexus of Linda currently ahead of him, P4, and Frank in P6 behind him in the black and silver Ferrari there. Stefan's starting to push up onto the back of Lindell here as we come through these fast section of S. There's nothing he can really do other than just try and get himself tucked up on the back of Lindell from these fast sectors. Really only one line, no way of passing through these corners unless you see a mistake. Now there is a possible shot for a bit of an unorthodox move here, but it's not a heavy braking zone, but it can be possible depending on the car ahead's sort of line through the fast right-hander. In here, no real opportunity depending on how that other right-hander goes. Sometimes you can get alongside drivers for that left-hander. Here is a possible overtake. It's not an easy one with such a sharp turn there on apex. But any corner can be made into a passing opportunity if you can put the other driver at a disadvantage. Oh, big slide there for Frank in the background, losing position and possibly losing time, possibly position to Xavier here. He's going to get a good run on him. But Xavier's actually been compromised, I think, by Frank, and is now allowed, leaving an opportunity to Damon, who was the one that lost all the time off the start. I wonder whether he still had the pit limiter on or something. He just really didn't go off the line. He's got to make some time up because he was on our front row and he's found himself down in 7th position. So that's one position made back for him. So he'll definitely be one to keep an eye on today. So yeah, that was Frank making a small error on the backside, sort of penultimate corner to the start-finish straight, and I think he possibly backed Xavier up a little bit, and Xavier's actually lost a couple of positions. One also to Stephen Wust, who's now pushed his way up to P8. And there you see it, lovely pass there by Damien. Not often you see a pass there, but that was beautifully executed there by Damien. We definitely have to keep our eye on him, as he's now got a little bit of air ahead of him. We'll see what sort of lap times he can put in over the next couple of laps and see if he can bridge the gap up to 5th position, which is Stefan Miller. A possible pass coming up here as the Audi managed to get alongside Frank and takes the position. Looks like Xavier's going to try and go around the outside, no room to do it there. Frank really getting everyone in the attack on him on this current lap. He's got to try and focus now and get everything back under control and go on the attack. A great opportunistic pass there by Stephen, I believe it was, in the Audi. Lovely, just got his nose up the inside and beautifully executed down the brakes. So you see Xavier getting a good toe on Frank, but Frank able to hold the position this time around. Forward with Mirko here in the get it right, in the Lamborghini. We haven't seen too many Lamborghinis out there today. Did a good job, P14 currently, holding off Rannick in P15. Jump on board with Lindell here. He's coming still under pressure from Miller in P5. A great job so far of just fending Miller off. Sebastian still out front. He's got himself a couple of second lead, or a few seconds lead at the minute, to Andrea, who's trying to keep him honest, and has Jose still in P3, and these guys are P4 and P5, with Damien P6, and he was our P2 man who lost all the positions off the start, so he'll be the one on the charge coming through the pack. We jump on board with Stephen here, as after that pass Frank has managed to regather himself and hasn't let Stephen get away. Just trying to see if he can put Stephen off his line there. Yeah, slightly squirrely on the corner there. This could upset his exit a little bit on the start-finish straight. Frank be looking for a good toe now down to turn 1. This is one of the most likely passing opportunities, but not able to get enough of a slipstream this time around. Likewise for Frank and Fernando. Some action going on here between Eric and Sergio, I believe. Sergio down the inside into turn 1 in the McLaren. Nice clean pass there by these guys. Great bit of racing there down into turn 1. Great to catch that on board. Thank you for that. Board here with Petro, currently P11, holding off Jack Dyer in the old Aston, doing a great job in the old Aston. Oh, is slightly wide, lost control there, sorry, was Fernando Silva. That's two positions, position gain to both these guys as Jack tries to take the long way around here. Not the easiest way to do it. As you can see, just the long way around doesn't always work, but he's gone for a bit of the cutback here, but he's not going to find himself on the favoured line into this sharp turn. No, he had to sort of bail out of that one. He's going to try and take a wide in, tight out approach, get the power on early, see if he can wind up for an attack down to turn 1 in a few corners time. We're going to jump over to Lindell here, still holding off to Miller to go down towards turn 1. Not close enough to have passed this time around. So we'll jump back over to Pedro and Dyer here to see if Dyer can get the run on Pedro. Definitely is gaining here, and the speed of that Aston pulls out for a pass down towards turn 1, thinks better of it. No pass this time around, but great to see the fight between these guys. Hopefully that will continue on throughout the race. They pass on to Antti Benlate here. P19 in the Honda. Oh, a little bit squirrely on brakes there into turn 1, opening the door for Sergio in the McLaren. Just able to hold position there with a good exit off turn 1. Nice to see one of the Hondas out there. It's not very often we see the Hondas. It is looking like it's a little bit of a handful for him at the minute though. Maybe a high fuel load's not suiting that car currently. Again here, Jack is on the attack on Pedro. Now, I'm going to just jump back here because Stephen has found himself down in P16 with some fairly light to medium damage there on the front end of his Audi. Now, he was, I believe, up about the P7 mark earlier, he had passed Frank, so possibly a comings together between the two of them. It's car 85, I wonder if there's anything I can see went on between them. Unfortunately, I can't see anything for him and Frank, so shame to see that there's been some, maybe it was a loss of control and he clipped the wall. We just don't know at this point in time. We shall find out a bit later, I'm sure. Jump on to Eric here. You've got another bit of side-by-side action down into turn 1 here with Anthony and Eric, sorry, apologies for that. Oh, contact in the background between Sergio and Radek, I believe. Hopefully they're both able to continue on okay. There they are, Porsche and McLaren still going at it strong. What we like to see. A little bit of paint sharing, long as they can both still carry on and continue to race cleanly and fairly. We're going to jump on board with the leader here. We haven't seen too much because there's been a fair bit of action going on so far. Sebastian doing a great job out front, setting a great pace in the Porsche. Led from lap 1 so far. Managed to pull out a couple of second lead initially, but Andrea doing a great job of holding him honest and keeping that gap pretty steady so far for the first sort of 13 minutes of the race. With Jose in P3, just a couple of seconds off them. And Stefan in P4 has got past Lindell, I believe. Shame we missed that. And Damien P6 is closing on these guys in P4 and P5. It's our leader, no, it's, yes, leader Sebastian with the fastest lap of the race so far with a 136.894, closely followed by a P2 man, Andrea, the 136.9. Jump on board with Stefan here. There he is in the Porsche, and he was following, I believe, the Lexus of Lundell, I do believe. So he has managed to get past. So well done to Miller, gaining a position. Check here because the gap has come down up front. It's now only a second between these guys. It'll be interesting to see what sort of lap times they do, or have done even. A little bit of a battle here possibly brewing between P14 and 15. And Pedro here in P10 still defending off Jack. These guys have been really close ever since the offset. P10 and 11, these guys having a great battle in midfield. These guys are definitely some of the closest battles we have on the grid so far. As Jack's tucking in on the slipstream of Pedro there, trying to look for a way past down to turn 1, but he's just not gaining enough ground on Pedro. And Ferrari has got good straight line speed here with his setup. Gonna jump on board with Lundell here as Damien, who was our P2 man, has been slowly closing on Lundell. He's only been a sort of 10.42 a lap faster, but has consistently been that little bit quicker than Lundell and has been closing him down, as he will be rather frustrated, I think, with what happened at the start, going from a front row P2 position down to about P8. He's done a good job so far, Damien. He's made a good couple of passes to find himself back up in P6, now on the hunt for P5 and hoping to at least make his way back up onto the podium, I would hope, as the leaders aren't too far up the field, so he's definitely able to get back up with the leaders, I would hope. And I'm sure he hopes as well. We're going to come around onto the last turn here. As yeah, he can see the leaders at the end. They're now going into turn 1, so it's definitely, if he can make his way up the order fairly quick, he can possibly get back up to where he started. But he'll need to make his way through the other guys fairly quick if he hopes to get back up to P2 by the end of the race. We'll jump back down to Pedro and Jack here as Jack pulls out the slipstream to have a look down the inside. Not able to make the pass this time round, just able to slow the car up for turn 1. No contact, great driving by these guys. It's going to be a real feature of this Tier 4 race, I believe, between these two. They're having a really fierce but fair battle. That's what we want to see. And here towards the end of the field, they're having a really good battle here between P16 through 19. So this is, we've got Eric, Anthony, Radek and Sergio having a really good fight for the lower positions here in Tier 4. And this is the whole idea between the tier system, that no matter what tier you're in, whereabouts on the grid you are going to get a great race, and this is proving this to a T for us. Really liking the very Tiger-esque livery of... Oh, Anti there makes a brilliant dive down the inside. Car gets really rear end loose as it went in. Oh, an entry to turn 7 there, and wow, what a save and a pass that was. Gem to catch that on stream. I'm pretty sure he caught Eric by surprise there. A great pass nonetheless by Anthony. Promotes himself up into P16, and now he'll see if he can break away from this pack and hunt down P15. Just we'll jump on board here quickly as that was going on. Damien has made his way past Lundell up into P5 now, so he'll be putting the hammer down, see if he can bridge the gap up to Stefan Miller in P4, going hunting under those sort of top points position places. John to Pedro and Jack again as they are side by side currently. Jack has made the pass this time around. Great bit of driving by Jack. It looks like a good exit off turn 1, allowed him to get up alongside Pedro and take the position into the little S's there before the sort of long hairpin corner. Great bit of driving by Jack, getting himself up to P10. Great to catch that on board. And Jack will be trying to put the hammer down now and see if he can go chasing down after Frank Nada in P9. We can jump back over to our leader, Sebastian. Still holding that sort of 1.1 to 1.3 second gap over second place man Andrea. The two Porsches having a good fight so far for the lead of this race. I do hope that Andrea has got a bit of pace in him, so he can just reel Sebastian in a bit, so these guys can get that little bit closer. We can see a bit of a battle for P1 would be really nice. Just caught a glimpse of Damien, who came into shot in the background there, so he's about a straight behind the leaders. He has done some fairly quick laps so far, so it's whether or not he gets into clear air, whether he'll actually be able to try and bridge the gap to the leaders. Now currently the leaders last time around were doing sort of high 37s, low 38s that lap, where Damien did a 1:37.7. as did Stefan Miller, and Lopez in third, even quicker with a 37.4. So actually P4, 5 and 6 are actually starting to close the gap on P1 and 2 and 3, which will be good to see, that we could see possibly the top 6 really start to close in here, which would be really nice to see towards the later stages of the race. Jump on board with Xavier here, because I got a notification that they were really close, someone was really close, but that was not the case, as you can see. But Xavier's still doing a great job in the BMW one. The only BMW's out there, I do believe, in P7, doing a brilliant job holding P7 so far. Mirko here, P13, one of the Lamborghinis, nice grey, and sort of like grey with a lot of blue flares around the windows there. Doing well holding P13 to Fabio Costa in the Audi. Oh, really deep and wide for Fabio there in the background, and spins out on the last little sector of the track there. Unfortunate for him. Hopefully everyone else managed to miss him and he able to get on okay. Ah, maybe it wasn't Fabio then. Obviously not, he says. Oh, it was Stephen pushing hard. My screen just hadn't updated. And yeah, we saw Stephen up in sort of P6, P7 position earlier, and unfortunately there was something happened that made him drop a lot of positions. I think he's just been pushing hard to try and make positions back up, and unfortunately more mistakes have been coming. Such a shame, because he was doing really well early on in the race. Hopefully he can regain a bit of composure and he can make some positions up and still enjoy the rest of his race. Going to jump to our leader here, as these guys are really starting to get close now, whether it's a more mistake by Sebastian or Andrea just really starting to find his pace around this lovely Zandvoort circuit. This is exactly what we want as a P1 and P2, to get that bit closer, and we see a battle for these guys. Plus also that should just slow their pace a little bit while they fight and allow P3, 4, 5 and 6 to hopefully sort of close the gap up and make this a multi-car battle for the lead, which is really what we want to see. Still 37 minutes to go, so definitely could happen. A good slipstream for Andrea there, but on the wrong side. Well, he's going to go deep around the outside. This would be an amazing pass if he can pull it off. Oh, Sebastian leaves him room, and it's a great pass by Andrea down at turn 1. The deep line around the outside. That was brave, braking really deep and late in that corner, but it's a very cambered first turn here at Zandvoort, so that really does favour that sort of move, actually. Great bit of driving there by both drivers to come out without any contact. Now Sebastian will see if he can put the pressure back onto Andrea. We're going to jump down the field. It's very close down towards turn 1 for Eric and Stephen. We know Stephen has got pace in him, and Eric decides, I think, to actually let him go, possibly knowing he's faster. He maybe had to learn from actually following Stephen. It's probably quite a good idea, that, actually. Good choice by Eric. We're going to jump back to leads because these guys are still really close. Oh, there's contact down towards the last sector. Taking the leader. It's such a shame after we saw a really good pass by these guys just at the start of this lap. Oh, such a shame. Those guys are going to drop a few positions, promoting Lopez into the race lead and Miller up to P2. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Damien in the background between these guys as well. Yeah, there he is in P5. Oh, Andrea will not be happy about that. He made a very clean pass on Sebastian at the start of the lap, and unfortunately there was contact between the two of them there. Bit of a late braking move. Well, probably just outbraked himself, I would say. Such a shame to have to seen that after the real good racing they've shown so far, but these things do happen, I'm afraid. We're on board with Jack here again. He has managed to pull a little bit of distance on Pedro, but not a significant amount. He is lapping a little bit quicker than the guys in front of him, so hopefully we'll see him catch up onto the back of Frank, and hopefully see Jack make up a few more positions during the race. I'm going to jump back over to the two fighting Porsches up front, because these guys are going to get themselves into a sort of three-way battle here also with Damien. So this is, oh yeah, very deep again for Sebastian. So maybe he's having a bit of a braking issue there, because it seemed way too deep. Same as last time, which was what caused the contact and lost Andrea the lead. So he's having a few difficulties, Sebastian is, as now Damien's going to pull up onto the back of him coming out of the last turn. He's going to try and take everything out of the exit there, Damien, to get himself into the slipstream for a possible pass down towards turn 1. Will we see him jink out towards turn 1? We will. Is he going to have a go on the brakes? Thinks better of it this time around, just not far alongside him towards turn 1 to make the pass this time around. Oh, a small error there, a little bit wide by Damien in the background. So managed to keep on going, no harm done there. As we jump aboard with Frank here, and we see Jack in the background there managing to slowly close that gap up on the Lexus driver. So Jack making good progress now that he's cleared Pedro. Could definitely listen to that Aston all day long. As we'll do a little on board. How about a decent one would do? Like a cockpit cam would be much better. So this is the on board with Frank here in the Lexus. You can see the Aston of Jack there behind. You see Jack closing in the braking zone. We're jumping on board with Jack's perspective here. See if he's able to get a good exit. Oh, this is a good exit. Maybe too early though. Yes, no, he couldn't really use it. Oh, that's a shame, because he had a great run there, but just couldn't use it with where Frank lost all his pace. Just jinks out to show Frank he's there, possibly puts him off a little bit, and he can allow himself a little bit of room at the inside. Needs a good exit here off turn 1. Don't think it's quite good enough to make the pass this time around, not yet. With Damien here, lost a little bit of time to Sebastian and Andrea in front. As we saw as a quick adjustment to the brake bias there, maybe found he was locking a little bit. We're going to jump back on board with these two as Jack is still right on the tail of Frank here. Oh, possible pass coming up here now. Not this time. We've seen a couple of drivers pass there before, but he's really putting the pressure onto Frank, which is one of probably the best ways to make passes around this tricky circuit of Zandvoort, is to put the pressure on and try and make the other guy make the mistake of making the pass a lot easier for you. You can see they're just slightly different entry lines there, so that Jack can line himself up for a better exit. Now this will be where it counts. It's a nice smooth line through the penultimate corner there. A lot better there this time for Frank. And line yourself up for a great exit on the start-finish straight. Looks pretty good for Jack this time. Yeah, he's definitely gaining. Will it be enough? We see him jink out to the inside. Doesn't gain quite enough this time. We see it there quite often, maybe just to try and push the defending driver into a small mistake.
Keep pushing.
Gonna jump back up to the leaders here. Andrea P3 as Sebastian behind has sort of regained his composure and has started to pull the gap back down to Andrea. Now hopefully the guys didn't receive any damage from the incident earlier. It was quite a light tap. Hopefully they didn't receive any damage and they can carry on racing. Lap time wise, Stefan Miller P2 is sort of the fastest guy on track at the minute, and he is trying to hunt down our leader Jose Lopez. These two are in mid to high 37s, so they're actually falling away from our leaders at the minute. Well, no, they're falling away from Miller in P2, who's really the fastest guy on track by about a half a second at the minute. Damien likewise is on pace with the two Porsches here. I'm going to jump back here because again Jack is all over the back of Frank trying to push a mistake, and there is one little catch of the dust there. This might have allowed Jack a better opportunity at the pass down to turn one this time. He tucks in, he's definitely closer this time. He jinks out earlier this time. I think he might have a little go on the brakes. No, Frank really late into turn one. Great defensive driving there on the brakes by Frank to hold Jack behind him. Nothing he can do now into this section. I'm going to jump on board here with our leader Lopez. A lovely black and, what is that, yellow or orange? It's got to be orange, I would say. Audi there. A great job holding on to P1 ever since he was gifted it by the two Porsches. And the next Porsche in shot there is Stefan Miller. He's doing a great job at the minute. He's really hunting down our leader Lopez, and consistently sort of 4/10 a lap faster over the last few laps, and he's really starting to gain time on Lopez. So we could see another battle brewing up for P1 here with just over half the race gone now. So that lap around, yeah, another 4/10 sort of in favour of Miller, so he's definitely pulling our leader in. Jump down to P13 here is Mirko, still holding on to P13 over Fabio in the Ferrari. Doing a good job, he's been holding on to that position for a while now. I'm going to jump over because there's side-by-side action. It looks like Jack has made the pass this time. I think he's done similar to what he did to Pedro last time, where a good exit off turn one allowed him the good drive off turn one to make the pass down towards the tight S's of turn 2 and 3. Great driving by Jack. We just caught that towards the end there. I'm going to jump over to our leaders now because these guys are really close. Possibly a mistake by Lopez because Miller has really gained some time on this lap. That's the worst thing, being the drop. Oh, big mistake there by Miller in the background this time. So a let off for Lopez this lap around. Eager to make that extra bit of ground on our leader to possibly get him in position for a pass down to turn 1. Got a little eager and lit the rears up coming out of the sort of long banked, well, not banked, but cambered sort of hairpin corner there. Nice and close in the background there for the two Porsches. Damien seems to have lost his lost the sort of times he was doing earlier. Maybe he'd taken the best out of the tyres early on in the race, trying to make that time up. Sorry, I thought there was a pass going on there for P13. So the tool giving me a reading as they went past drivers that are in the pits out of the race. Two drivers in the pits currently, John Wales and Radek. Jordan here with Damien, as Lundell has now caught back up to Damien after Damien got past him earlier on during the race and went speeding off after the top bunch, and just hasn't been able to maintain the pace that he had early on in the race, and now that position is starting to come back towards Lundell, sorry, and he'll be interested to try and get that position back off Damien. See Xavier there, probably a bit of a lonely race behind these guys. P7 nevertheless doing a great job to hold that position for the majority of the race so far. Going to jump as Frank is in the pits, so I'm not sure exactly what's happened there, so whether that's damage or other stuff we shall find out later on, I'm sure. Jump over to our leaders as Miller has managed to regain that time lost from the earlier small mistake. He is back on the rear bumper of Lopez now, as we're going to hopefully see that. Oh, another fight for P1, but between two different drivers this time. Hopefully we shall see a nice clean battle between these guys. Go on board here with Stefan in the Porsche. You see not a massive slipstream effect gained. If anything, it seemed that the Audi actually seemed to pull away on the straight there, but the Porsche really good on the brakes down into turn 1. Managed to just close that gap back up a little bit. You can't be too aggressive with the Porsche, being that the engine is mounted over the rear axle. Lose control of this car, you struggle to regain control, so you have to be very smooth. You see nice small inputs by Stefan, trying to keep the car nice and as smooth and controlled as possible. Obviously helps with tyre wear on these endurance races, but hour long, so it's a long time to have to look after a set of tyres, because you need them to work throughout the whole race. Or heavy curb usage by Lopez there, allowing Miller to just regain a little bit of time on him. Forcing Lopez to change his lines a little bit. That's what Miller needs to keep him doing, and that will possibly allow an opportunity for a pass for Miller. As we see the Porsches in the background again, really close, and again it was Sebastian Good really deep into that tricky little tight set of corners there, and getting very close to the back of Andrea, which must be quite discerning for him, being that he's already taken him out there once before. And surely I would assume that will come with some penalty points after the race, but sometimes it's quite different when you see better camera angles, so I won't pass judgment on that yet. Jump on board with Sergio here. He's being attacked by RLM Anthony. Oh, a great move again, same place we saw it last time. I don't think any drivers are expecting the pass there, and that is a hell of a pass to try. And what is such a hard place to try and pass. It's a hard place to even take a fast line around that corner, let alone try and pass someone and control the car at the same time. As you see, the back end was stepping out as he went for the pass, but well held there by Anthony. A great move, great to catch that right there as it happens. And he's showing us that the Honda does work well. Surprised we don't see more of them out there, and hopefully we will in further races and seasons. Gonna jump a couple of places up higher with Fabio here in P13, holding off P14. Another one of the McLaren drivers out there. Nice livery there, the black and sort of purpley blue colours. It's unfortunate to see that. You've seen it so many times in that position. I'm going to jump overboard here with Frank and Pedro. Pedro takes the pull out to have a look of a pass down to turn 1, but thinks better of it this time around. Got some really close battles going on here with just 18 minutes left. So we've got three or four really close battles here that I'm trying to keep an eye on, as Sergio here is defending to Frank, who had to take a pit stop earlier. So probably fresh tyres for Frank in the Ferrari, and he's probably trying to make use of that fresh rubber, because he'll be able to brake later, accelerate harder and turn sharper. So you can see the difference in lines he's taking. On board with Frank here. Pedro's going to be lining up for another pass before long, I think, at the end of this lap. The portion between them there, that is actually a back marker, so hopefully I believe that is Radek. Will jump out of the way for them, possibly on the start-finish line, let these guys jump through, as they've been racing really hard so far in this race. I possibly don't need to let him pass quite yet, but he doesn't really want to have to try to let him pass on the fast twisty sections of the course. Jump on board here with Anthony. He's got Frank behind him now, so Frank got past Sergio there. Frank just showing what a set of fresh boots will do compared to the guys that have been running these tyres for 45 minutes now. You sort of feel that he's a bit of a sitting duck in the way that Frank has just got superior grip over him at this point in the race. we go. Frank pulls out alongside. He just that superior grip off the last turn, allowing him to get the power down earlier. Not a lot that he can really do against that superior grip. Like you say, just more inevitable pass really for Frank. Though nice and clean between those guys. I'm going to jump on board with Fabian here, defending off Lindell. Managing to do so down towards turn 1 this time around. Very close battle here between Fabio and Brissett for P13-14, and Brissett makes the pass around the outside. Interesting place for that to happen, but gets the pass nonetheless. Possibly a bit deep for Fabio. Felt he had to let him through there. All the way back from that position. We're going to jump back on with Damien here as these guys getting really close again. Lindell really keen to get that position back that he lost to Damien earlier in the race. Likewise, it's still really close up front. Well, I say it's really close up front. Stefan is actually in front of Lopez now. I'm really sorry I missed that, Stefan. So Stefan Miller has taken the lead now, and he's got a 0.8 second advantage over Lopez. It's unfortunate we missed that. There's been so much going on. I could see that the battle was still close, but I didn't realise the names had actually switched position. Jump back to Frank here. Is getting again really close between him and Pedro for P9 and 10. I'll just stay with these guys for a minute and see if Pedro is able to get a little bit closer this time for the exit of the last turn. He was possibly a little bit too close actually going in that penultimate corner. It actually cost himself a little bit going in, and I don't think that's going to allow him to get close enough for a pass. Not this time anyway, down towards turn 1. So here's our new race leader, Stefan Miller, done a really good job so far. Started the race in, I believe, P4 or 5, and has done a really good job, being very consistent all race long, really. Gained a couple of positions just through racing instance of the 2 Porsches in P3 and 4. But that's the way that racing goes, and you've got to take it when it comes your way. But he's done a great job so far, made a great pass on Lopez for the race lead, and is starting to just edge away from Lopez now. But 3/10 that last lap, so really does look like Miller is in the command position at this point. Now he's just got to keep his head and look after his pace for the next 12 or 13 minutes to get himself a race win here today at Zandvoort. The Porsches behind. Looks like Andrea has managed to break Sebastian and starting to pull away from him slightly, possibly seeing that Lopez is starting to slow and hoping to get one of those positions back that he lost earlier due to the contact. Just 1.5 seconds now between him and Lopez, and his lap times are slightly better than Lopez last time round, 3/10 in Andrea's favour, so that sort of pace he can definitely get on the back of Lopez and try it for a pass and get P2 back. Jump on board here. Brissett still able to hold that position to Fabio, which we saw him get a few laps ago, doing a great job in P13. Looks like Brissett actually setting close to his best laps towards the end of the race, so he's been able to hold and maintain a good pace, so that's good to see in the McLaren. We're going to jump over here because Frank looks like he's still got Pedro all over the back, and it looks like Fernando Silva is going to try and join them to make a three-way battle for P9 here. Stefan Miller out front again, another 3/10 in his favour, just stretching that advantage out to sort of 1.4, 1.5 seconds now. Likewise, just 2/10 in the favour of Andrea, just slowly closing down P2 as well. To keep an eye on that, because he's definitely got the pace to close down to P2. Whether he can actually pass Lopez, we shall wait and see. Going to do a little on board from Fernando Silva's position here, following the cars of Pedro and Frank. A little bit of oversteer there on X. As you see, these guys have been running for 50 minutes now on this set of tyres. A little bit of an overlap for Pedro there. Is he might possibly able to get the pass? No, just not able to get alongside Frank as he go down towards the last few corners now of this lap. Just see there's plenty of understeer there for Fernando as well, just struggling a little bit to stay in touch with these guys. Very good on the brakes then at turn 1, able to make some of that time back up. Would stay heli there as we see the guys come snake through the lovely S's here at Zandvoort. As you come to turn 7, they'll drop down the hill there for this really fast right-hander. See the silver Ferrari there at the back end really sliding into turn 7. Really fast, another fast right-hander there, trying to clip the apex curb too much. Tricky set of corners here, this right and the left. You've got to sort of maintain speed. Snap of oversteer for Pedro as he tries to get the outside in line to get a better exit, and too much oversteer, trying to get the power on. Now that offers a run for Fernando Silva, but Fernando Silva thinks better of it this time around. Possibly had a chance for the pass there, but obviously felt he didn't have the confidence going into that turn on the brakes. Bob with Lindell here, as Damien just seems to have pulled away a little bit, and Xavier is starting to come into play now with just 7 minutes left. He's had a pretty lonely race of it so far, but really looks like he's managed to look after his car, and he's coming on the attack in the final 6 or 7 minutes of this race. Nice to see the BMW in there. I believe the only BMW in Tier 4 today. See a blue flag there for the lovely tiger colours Honda of Anthony. Gets out of the way, beautiful position and time, and they're not costing any of the drivers any time in their battle. Stefan still holding the lead currently at 1.7 second lead currently, so able to maintain his lead currently. Just another 6 minutes to go. Andrea is managing to catch Lopez in P2, currently just taking a little bit out of him each time around. No, apologies, getting the wrong information there. It's actually, they've lost a bit of time to Lopez, and it's Sebastian that's now back onto the back of Andre. So the fight for P3 and 4 between the Porsches is back on, as they have a fight for P1 and 2 and for 3 and 4. As Eric here holding off Stephen. Stephen obviously had a bit of unfortunate stuff going on towards the start of the race. Not too sure what happened, but he definitely had damage and had to go in to repair that. And he's been slowly trying to make his way back up the field. Now Aston's pretty good in a straight line. Probably not quite able to get up alongside for a pass into turn 1. He's got a few more laps where he can possibly do so. Jump on board with the Porsche of Sebastian here. P4 trying to push Andrea for P3. Just 4.5 minutes to go now. Using every inch of track. Oh, as I say that's too many inches, and he's lost it. That's a goner. He has managed to regain that, but that probably will be his fight for a podium off today. A bit of a commentator's curse there, as I'm saying he's trying to use every inch of track and uses a few feet too many, unfortunately. Just that trying to push everything out of the car, trying to get the run onto Andrea to get a pass down towards turn 1. I believe that will be it for his endeavours to get further up the field today. But P4 will be good, though he may get a penalty later on, and we'll find out about that in due course. Stefan Miller still doing a great job out front, has managed to pull the gap up to about 2 seconds now, so he just needs to keep this up and he can find himself the winner here at Zandvoort today. Lopez still in P2, done a great job so far. Just not quite able to match the pace of Miller out front currently, but still a great drive in P2. Jump back down to 9th position here. Frank's still doing a great job holding off Pedro for P9. These guys have been fighting it out for a while now. They seem to have dropped Fernando, just not able to keep up with the pace of these two, really. Just looked like he was suffering from a little bit too much understeer. I'm going to jump back to Brizet here, P13, as Fabio is back on the attack to try and take the position back that we saw him lose earlier on. Likewise, getting fairly close, just in front of these guys, P12 and P12 and P13, Mirko and no, it doesn't make sense. Sorry, I've got the wrong people in the wrong positions here because we've just been commentating on a different. That is okay. Yeah, that is Stephen Wust in 17th position, trying to unlap himself there. I was going to say that didn't look right. He's done a good job, gets through there, but he probably, I would guess, with the damage he had fixed, he probably went for a fresh set of tyres. Plus, we saw him up in sort of P6, P7 position, and we know he's got the pace. So, yeah, definitely allowed to unlap yourself as long as you do it nice and cleanly. You can sort of take that pace and carry it on through. As we just see these guys, obviously, also. Yeah, getting blue flags there, so he's doing a good job of letting these guys past. There you hear it. Here's our leader, Stefan Miller. Great job so far today. Really consistent, putting great times in, and we haven't really seen him make any mistakes. A couple of little bit of looseness on the rear end at occasions. I really hope I don't give him the commentator's curses. He's done a great job today and really deserves the win. Just 3/4 of the lap left to go. We will stay on board with our leaders for this final lap, as long as none of the other guys look like they're about to pass. Have a quick look back to P13 here as these guys are lining up for possible pass down towards turn 1. Chris able to hold the position this time around. Doing a great job to hold him off in P12. We're going to jump back to our lead as you come around the last couple of turns. Great job for Stefan Miller taking P1 here at Zandvoort in Tier 4. This is round 6 and that's a win for Miller. P2 for Lopez. Great drives for Lopez too. Andrea here got to feel a bit bad because he had got himself into the lead fair and square with a great pass around the outside on Stefan. Unfortunately, contact between him and Sebastian, contact between the two, dropping a few positions back, but that is racing sometimes. Damien takes P5 and Lindell takes P6. Xavier not able to catch up onto Lindell in the end, settles for P7. Jack Dyer P8 after a few good overtakes earlier on during the race. Frank P9 and Pedro P10. This is your leaderboard so far. We've seen some great passing and great racing throughout the grid today. Some brilliant race, side-by-side racing. Some great passes from Jack, from Andrea P3. Some great passes. We've seen Anthony in the Honda make some brilliant passes into P7 twice. That was rather opportunistic moves we saw. They were epic. So it's been really good by the Tier 4 drivers, very clean in round 6, and hopefully that will continue for the rest of the season. Here is your race winner, Stefan Miller. Alongside him there is Jose Lopez, sorry. So we're just waiting for the rest of the guys to finish their laps. I think we're almost there now. Oh, brilliant. A few little donuts for Stefan. Right, I bet he's absolutely chuffed he's won that race. You can see it there. Well, I was Jake for redlinemotorsport.co.uk. This has been ACC Tier 4 race 6, and I shall see you next time.